It's a little strange. Yeah, that he leaves and then he comes back and he's able to kind of reconnect with her.
I like how she shows up though. She like costs him millions of dollars.
Yeah,
that's gangster.
Yeah. She has the force of nature and wherewithal to do what she wants to do, but she doesn't have the skill set, as you pointed out. It's hard. It's hard to. She doesn't have believe that she's going to get on that. It's her versus. I guess the thought process was, well, yeah, that's the only way I could figure it out, that she didn't care about dying whenever the general was going to, decide to have his way with her. That's
that dude
when
was so gross.
Yeah. And it was, like I said, I just feel like they missed, they're trying to play a movie in C and they were like B flat. They were just missing, their intent was about as good as any Bond movie. They just, for, reasons maybe that were confounding, that were exterior to the movie, like the writer's strike and other things that confounded the movie, and they just had to get it out by a certain date. They just kept missing on the connections, and it's what will always hold the movie back.
Have you ever watched a Bond movie and you've liked the side character more? Like, I liked her more than Bond. I understood his mission on this. But,
Rosamund Pike.
Yeah, she was awesome in that and Die Another Day. But in this one, I liked that she got into this place on her own, cost him millions. She got in her place to do this, like, dubious methods, but then she just sort of, like, hung in there. So Bond has the backing of the government. He has all this money. He's charming. He can, woo Jim Arterton in no time. Beat up anybody, kill anybody, walk away from it. And here's this lady that's, like, almost equal with him with none of his... flights.
Skill set,
like she couldn't buy
bandwidth,
She couldn't buy 6 Vester martinis on an airplane,
right?
Because she probably doesn't have the money for it. So I don't know, I found myself watching this movie again, and I think that's bad in a Bond movie. We're like, give me more of her. Like, I really like that character.
It's so interesting, like, when you talk to people about Bond movies, and they'll sit there and go, what's your favorite movie? And a lot of times they have favorite scenes from Bond movies. But then you go, well, is that your favorite movie? No, like, well, I loved this character, or I loved, I love this, or I love that, but like the whole movie. And I think that's where Quantum of Solace moves up, because I feel like there's a lot of coolness in other movies, but in totality, Quantum of Solace, while missing some beats, has a pretty good story from start to finish. A lot of the Bond movies, you just feel that the thumb on the scale from the studio, like we mentioned, Moonraker. Moonraker's a pretty good movie for about 2/3 of the way through. And then they take an iconic villain and turn him into a comic book character at
Jaws?
the end. Yeah. Then they're shooting lasers off in space. And nothing made sense. It was so hokey. And you're like, how can you take a movie that's this good for, 90 minutes and just ruin it in the final 30? And so when you talk Quantum of Solace, I feel like, it misses a beat here, it misses a beat there, it misses a beat there, but in totality, it's a pretty good story, and it really attempts to create more depth into who Bond is. Now, it's a product of its time. Yeah. We want different things from our movies now. We don't want Adam West Batman anymore. We want Christian Bale Batman now. Yeah. So it's a product of our times too. But, some of those, oh my God, it's almost painful sometimes when you like watch some of those older Bond movies. It's just that, that you can just feel the studio thumb in some of them.
Sean Connery in Asian face.
Yeah. Not good. Not good.
And but you know what could be good about this movie is there isn't a gimmick. Like, there's no underwater fights. There's no epic underwater battles. There's no Moonraker. There's no ice castles.
Right.
There's no facial reconstruction. This one guy was now another guy because he had a surgery. Yeah,
there's no 10-minute fencing scene and Madonna is running the fencing studio. Those kind of gimmicks are not in Quantum of Solace.
Yeah. So I wonder if you've watched all of them in a row, then you watch this one, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and maybe you reject it a little bit. Just because...
Oh, it does not feel... And to your point, you started this off, I think you made a very good point, and it's true. The Bourne movies, it truly... You talk about taking space in the broccoli's head. There is no doubt that the Bourne movies took up a couple floors in Albert Wilson and Barbara Broccoli's head. when this movie came out. And the quick edits, the distorted edits, and those sort of things, they were definitely pulled from the Bourne Identity, and they wanted, and it's like, what can make that somewhat frustrating is, why are you so worked up about the Bourne movies when you're coming off Casino Royale, which I think many people would argue with the new Academy Award with 10 pictures.
It would have made it.
It would have made it.
Should have made it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be one of those, like, articles that you write, which is, greatest movies that, due to politics, didn't, if it didn't get nominated, why it should have and how politics kept it out, that sort of thing. Why were Barbara Broccoli and Albert Wilson so caught up in the Bourne series when they just came off making quite possibly the most perfect Bond movie ever made? So but hey, you and I aren't producing, half $1 billion movies. So who knows what pressures they were under.
I wrote here, I kept waiting for a scene that lasted 2 seconds. Just the cut in the beginning. So the opening scene of Quantum of Solace, or one of the open scenes, is just like probably a helicopter shot closing in a beautiful highway in Italy.
It's the opening shot.
Yeah, opening shot. So it's like 10 seconds long, and you're like, this is really nice. I kind of wrote, I wish I would just watch this instead, because it's a beautiful shot of the water leading into a really nice mountain with a beautiful road. I'm like, this is great. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, cut. Like, I like some of the gags that they had in there with the car stunts, and I guess with a 2-lane tunnel, you gotta cut quick. But there was a scene where he kind of drove off into a construction site for a second. I was like, yeah, this one's great. And then the scene's over. And then the fight scene with the bodyguard of M who tries to kill M, that was a Bourne fight, if I'd ever seen one.
Sure.
The fight I like the most is when he gets to Haiti, and he fights the guy that looks exactly like him, and he slams him through the glass window, then he's all cut up. That was the Bond I love from Casino Royale, like the wrecking ball who runs through a wall.
And he gets hurt.
Yeah. I wrote an article, my favorite action moments of this century, and that's in there in Casino Royale, where the guy jumps over the door and he runs through it. Like, not only does that say this is a new Bond, but he's a tanker of a man. And that's what I like, the longer takes. But, Martin Campbell, the director, probably has more experience than Mark Forster did.
It's easy for people. I mean, you and I have never directed, big budget movies or anything, but I can see not trusting it. And Martin Campbell, he trusted himself to let those action scenes play, let those shots run just a hair longer. Well, even in the Bourne movies, they let them run a little longer because you can comprehend.
Yeah, you know what's going on. Yeah,
they definitely were probably a half second too quick on some of the edits. Maybe they were just like, we're gonna out Bourne. I don't know, but
how fast are their cuts? We'll make ours faster.
Yeah, and it's still not terrible, but it's in that fight scene on the when they fall through. It's bad CGI when they fall down through the glass ceiling, but then on all the what do you call it,
the scaffolding.
That was
he's hanging upside down,
and the way they would shoot it upside down with the gun, and it gave you Bond's view. That was a pretty well executed fight sequence. So, like I said, there's just cool things about it. I mean, I think the Tosca opera scene is completely well done. I like
the detective work in that. He gets the earpiece. Even M does some detective work in this, which I kind of like.
Well, one scene that the transition going into Haiti comes off of the dollar bills, and my problem with that scene is it should have been longer because it was actually it's
on
actually
the computer.
It's a great scene. She's like, impress me, but that scene is literally like 3 minutes long, and it's the sole reason he goes to Haiti. But the first time you see it happens so fast you don't even pick up on what that conversation was. You just okay, they're looking at money.
That dude was a boss, too, because she's like, we're busy. We don't have time for this. Impress me. And then the dude really impresses her.
But they trust it. Give it a hair more time and let the audience absorb it. I remember, like, the third time I watched it, I put the movie on closed captions just so I could read the dialogue because it was so fast. And this is a real... If you're going to do a short scene like that, this is like a personal pet peeve. Don't cut away from the people talking. because I feel like in a longer scene you can do it. The audio is quality, you can show the reaction while someone was speaking. If you're going to have a quick scene, you can't have it. You can't have everything. And so it's hard to already follow that scene. And then you're not even seeing some of the people talk. So you can't even like follow their lips a little bit. I mean, it helps your eyes, the senses absorb a scene. And you watch it in closed captions. You're like, wow, this is a really cool scene.
This guy's great.
This is great. But I mean,
he should have been given a shot where he's just gloating. They walk out and he just starts dancing.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah, because he impressed them and they were skeptical. And that's smart. That's detective work. I don't know if like people say they want that from their Batman. But I kind of like that from Bond, too. Like, just, pump the pavement,
I've read the books, and I mean, he's basically a detective in the books.
Oh.
And, when you read the old Ian Fleming, books, and, if you look back at the old ones, Dr. No, Rush for Love, he's doing more, doing more detective work. But then, it's like anything, it becomes a franchise, and then you want to get bigger, better, and, that sort of thing. So, but... Yeah, I agree. They're like you said, they're start to finish. It's a good quality movie. It's not great. I'm not here to make that argument. I just think it kind of gets shortchanged for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with the movie, and then it's just a little off key. So if you're already in a mindset of all the Daniel Craig movies, Quantum of Solace is terrible. You're already in a mindset of it's bad. And then when you watch it, unless you just commit to looking at it in a different light, which you did, you can see, they're really trying to accomplish something here, but there were clearly forces that people don't see that affect the movie. I mean, I
totally agree.
We can have this conversation about a lot of movies. I mean, not to get, I don't want to go down a non sequitur rabbit hole here, but
do it.
People hate Godfather 3, and they should. But what people don't know was Robert Duvall had committed to that movie, and then at the last minute bailed because he tried to hold the studio hostage for more money, and Coppola only had 6 weeks to deliver a screenplay.
Yep.
And then Winona Ryder backed out. And So everyone gets all up on, for obviously putting in his daughter, but the reason the daughter, it wasn't his plan to put her in there.
But they had Pacino. You can't knock schedules back. Once you have a movie of this size, you can't, guys, hey, Pacino, we're stopping filming for 6 weeks while I find an actress. Pacino's like, ugh.
So Godfather 3, it fairly gets knocked for being a poor third movie, but people just look at the movie thinking,
Coppola, Sophia.
Yeah, everything is just equal, and they had all the time in the world to come up with this screenplay, and they had all the time in the world, and everyone had all the time in the world. Sometimes, and because you worked in the industry, you've taught me this a lot, sometimes things have to be hastily written. And so that's where Quantum of Solace suffered, the writer's strike, and all these other things where I feel like when you watch it, and you really give it a shot, maybe even watch it with closed captions, you go, man, there's a heartbeat of a really good movie here that they just, it's almost like a hanging curveball. Yeah. They just missed. And it's a good movie. I think it'll grow. I mean, I've already seen articles on the internet where people have actually given it a second.
Yeah, Slash Film just wrote an article about it, praising it.
Yeah, it's better than you think.
But it's in the phase right now, it's unpopular opinion. So they're not just going like, get over yourselves, this is a good movie. They're just saying, I have an unpopular opinion to share. And it was a good article.
Yeah.
But everything they said that they loved it, I was like, ugh.
And this isn't a contrarian opinion. I'm not, you and I don't have this, I genuinely like it. Not love it, like it. And I'm not being contrarian for contrarian's sake. That's the purpose of the pod.
Well, no, you actually have data, or you have reasons, not just because.
And I mean, I even said something the other day that, I thought you were gonna, pour me another glass of whiskey when I said I actually prefer Quantum of Solace to Spectre, and you just were like, okay, my brother-in-law, we might
he's losing his mind.
We might need to call in some folks and give him some help, and but
all right. So how about this? You and I, we're gonna scream at each other off air for a few minutes. We're gonna go to break, and when we come back, you and I have settled the dust. It might be a year has passed because we got into such a bad argument that.
I can feel it building.
Yeah, so I mean, we're both ready to scream at each other. So when we get back, we'll talk about more Quantum of Solace. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. That was disappointing. We didn't even argue. We just kind of talked it out, and then we had another whiskey, and now we're back. It's been like 10 minutes.